Megan is an angel because we're able to rely on her with every transaction. My husband and I are on our 11th one with her, so obviously we're huge fans. My biggest memory working with Megan is when my husband and I bought our first house. It was a new build and we were super nervous because we didn't know the process, but Megan walked us through each step. She made sure that we were protected working with a builder we didn't know about, and it just made the process so much easier. We felt then excited to move into our new home and were able to have a smooth transaction because of it.
Megan Marion, your real estate angel. Call 720-229-6674 or learn more at 670kltt.com/angel. That's 720-229-6674.
Welcome to Pinpoint Colorado. I'm your host, Rachel Maines. Today, I'm joined by local news reporter Greg Nieto for a look into the history of Channel 2, Colorado's first television station. We discuss how Channel 2 has helped shape the local news right here in our beautiful state and why local journalism continues to matter. Greg also shares his story on how he got started in the news business. Well, thank you, Greg, for coming on Pinpoint Colorado.
Sure, of course.
We've been colleagues. I used to work at Channel 2 way
Right.
back when it was
Way back.
off of I-25 in Orchard.
Yeah,
And then when I came back from Argentina, once again, I worked for Channel 2, then Fox Denver for
That's right.
a while too.
that's
But
right.
Channel 2, the oldest station in Colorado.
Mhm.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about some of the history involved with not only Denver and Colorado, but the history of Channel 2 covering that history.
Right. And so how long have you been with Channel 2?
Geez, let's see, 26 years. It's hard to believe I started
Yeah.
in January of 2000 when they started WB Today. It was the first morning show for Channel 2 in the market with a kind of a different, flair.
Right. Well, let's talk about the transition, from all the way over from I-25 in Orchard to now
Sure.
being, Fox Denver as well in this building down here in downtown Denver.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a big change just aesthetically because the Channel 2 building there off of Orchard was it was smaller. It was very professional and whatnot. But when we first merged with Fox in 2008, it really looked like a television station. It kind of had that pop, if you will, with a great studio or view of downtown Denver that adds a little more sizzle to the broadcast, I think.
Right. Just the location.
Yeah,
It's exciting
yeah.
to be downtown.
Sure.
Whereas before it was we're tucked away
Mhm.
off of Orchard and I-25.
Sure.
But news-wise, I mean, you must learn so much about Colorado,
Mhm.
and I'm sure you have a special sense of how incredible Colorado is. Just you're out and about getting to know people and covering stories.
Yeah, I think part of it is actually just, from day to day as a general assignment reporter. I mean, you know this too. You just never know what you're going to be covering from day to day. And so you just get a look-see into someone or some community's life, if you will, like from a one-day perspective. And after 26 years, it's for the most part no longer, geez, I've never seen this community before.
Right.
I've been there several times. So having that experience, I think, also helps the reporting because you bring to the table some more experience with the community and issues that, basically are reoccurring issues for the most part.
Right. Yeah, and so what would you say is some unique and special aspects of Colorado as you has learned as a reporter?
Well, I mean, I think, you could go for look at it from a topographical perspective, right? In terms of where do you go? Like if you're out on the Eastern Plains versus, the high country. Even just a few days back, we started our day in Commerce City, which has, that certain dynamic of the refineries attached to it, the old dog track for people who've been in Denver for a while. And then we got moved to breaking news up in Fort Collins, and we were out there on the west side of Fort Collins, just west of the CSU campus where the old football stadium used to be. So you
Right.
talk about how your history kind of, you go into that situation knowing, geez, this is where this used to be, where that used to be. It adds a little bit of, I think, not only your knowledge, but when you talk to people, I think it adds to your credibility.
Right.
And Channel 2, I think, adds to that too. When people know that you're kind of a old school Channel 2 guy,
Right.
I think they know you've been around a while.
Right, yeah, that long standing in the community.
Yeah.
And that's such a special thing to be the first station in Colorado,
Sure.
news station
Sure.
for sure.
Yep.
And it's grown, and now that you guys are merged with Fox Denver as well, you've seen Denver, not only just Colorado, but Denver really grow. What are your thoughts about that? I mean, this is the place to be. People are moving here.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, when I first moved here in 2000, I thought it was kind of already becoming a melting pot, but I think a number of different issues over the years. I think when they legalized marijuana, I think that added to a lot of younger folks moving here. I think it's very rare, I think you would agree anymore, that I meet someone that says they grew up here, they went to high school here, because that's usually the first question I ask if I sense that they're natives, like, where'd you go to high school? And as time goes on, it's less and less of that and more of, I graduated from X college on the East Coast and moved here for skiing, snowboarding, to start a business.
Right.
Brewery, that's another big burgeoning industry that I've really watched blossom over the past, 10 to 12 years.
Right. You've been in the news business for a while, and I'm certain that people ask you, how did you get started? How can I get started? What are some of the things and the tips that you give people as they ask that question?
I mean, I think you probably would answer the same way in the sense of there is no set way to get into the business. Even when I was trying to get in, there was no answer. I mean, I still have this rock on my desk and it says passion. And I've had that rock ever since, even before I got into the business. It was just finding opportunities to learn, get in front of the camera, write, proofread, read in the sense of just reading up on topics and whatnot. So I would just say, you follow your passion, and you keep looking for doors. And those doors may not necessarily open up to, making money, but if it leads to experience, then, like anything else, right, you get better and better. And,
right.
Your pathway. I mean, I started in Yuma, Arizona, so it's not straight from Denver to, New York, or from Pueblo to Denver. I mean, it's, you just kind of follow your path.
Right. Describe a typical day in news. So when you get up in the morning and you come into the station here, what's the day like?
So our editorial meeting, if you work night side or for the evening news, starts at 2. So you go in there with story ideas, and it's a collective decision about which story they'll have each reporter go out and cover. But at least once or twice a week, you start off on one thing and you end up on something completely different. Breaking news wise. So you go from something that maybe you're hoping to sink your teeth into with your knowledge and maybe just asking questions that folks at home may want to know, to just, this is what's happening behind me right here. It's, just happened. This is what we know. Here's how to stay safe. Here's how to avoid this area, that sort of thing. So it really tests you, with being prepared, but also just, being good on your feet.
Right. Are there some stories where you're just, you're thinking, wow, this is a really challenging story? I'm sure in terms of like the bad news of car wrecks and stuff like that.
Sure.
And then how do you just internally, with such challenging news, handle that?
I don't have an answer for it. I mean, it's tough. I mean, the other day we had to cover a story. It was back to back. It was one day of a family whose dog got loose and goes to the shelter, and there was some miscommunication, and the dog was accidentally put down, or put to sleep. And so I knew going in, like, oh my gosh, because I'm a huge dog and cat guy, and
Me too.
I even said to my photographer, I'm like, man, I hate stories like this. I mean, we're covering it because it's important to the community, and there was some controversy, but you go into it and it's like, oh, it's going to really tear at your heartstrings, and you do your best to be professional, but it does affect you because you're talking to someone whose life has been impacted.
Right. Yes. In terms of Colorado and news, some of the specific things I would think of that are challenging is the weather, here. Anything else that's kind of specific in terms of Colorado and news that you can think of?
I mean, I think anytime you talk sports, you talk about the Broncos. They had almost made it to the Super Bowl there, and the Nuggets and the Avs are in the playoffs. I mean, that's fun. I mean, some people will say sometimes, like, we're not used to seeing you smile. So sometimes it's nice when you cover those stories because you can exhale, right?
Yeah.
And you can, put your arm around somebody and say, go Broncos and that sort of
Right.
thing. But I mean, unique, anytime we do a story that involves the weather, more than likely, it's not necessarily a tornado in the spring or summer. It's, heavy snowfall up in the mountains.
Right.
You have to find, some sort of, you hope that when you're communicating stories like that your experience again comes into play with knowledge of highways and byways and ways to get around wrecks, previous snowstorms, that sort of thing. So that's where you really feel like your experience, all those years starting at Channel 2, you can kind of fall back on it. You're not searching for it. You lived it, in Denver, in Colorado. So.
Right. Greg, I would say that you know the state fairly well with so many years here. What are some of your favorite things to do?
I'm a dog dad and a cat dad.
Yeah.
So I enjoy, spending time with those guys. I do like watching sports and going up to places like Black Hawk in Central City because it's unlike Vegas. It's you're going up to you're getting a 2-for-1, right? You're witnessing the beauty of the state, some of the history of the state, but you're having some immediate fun along the way.
Right. Absolutely. Now, how can our viewers, I'm sure they're used to seeing you, but you're on Channel 2 and Fox.
Correct.
So will you give the times that you're reporting?
Typically, like last night or yesterday or recently, we had some breaking news. So, I mean, sometimes I could be on the 4 or the 5 p.m. on the Fox end. Channel 2 has an evening show at 7. But predominantly I'm at Fox 31 at 9 p.m. and 10 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Wonderful. And I can't leave you without asking, do you have a specific memory of a story that just kind of melted your heart that was, Colorado born?
I mean, there are a couple of them that I think anytime you're able to help people, and that seems to have happened at least once a week. I would say most of the stories, in a good way, revolve around either weather or the Broncos. I mean, we've had some huge snowstorms that, you really feel like you're reporting on the story, but you're like everybody else, because the weather affects everybody, right? So when you're out there, you just feel connected, I think, more with folks because you're out there and you're reporting, and it impacts all of us. So I would say at least topical. Those are my two favorite stories that again make me smile and warm my heart at the same time is good too.
Right. Well, thank you, Greg, for coming on Pinpoint.
Sure.
It's just great to always connect with you
Yeah.
and to see what you're doing. And you're doing a great job for Colorado and a great job just being in news and keeping us informed. It's important.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks. My thanks to Colorado news reporter Greg Nieto for a look into the history of Channel 2 and for the behind-the-scenes look into the news business. Make sure and catch Greg and all your local news at Colorado's CW2 and Fox 31. And don't forget, you can watch past episodes of Pinpoint Colorado. Just go to pinpointcolorado.com. Thanks for joining us and see you next time.